We're here today with Mayor Ron Arnold. Ron, thank you for talking with us.
Thank you, Pam.
I heard that you took a trip to Japan.
I did. Just got back a couple days ago. I spent 10 days. Was a very busy schedule, very productive.
Now, I know that Elsa has been in Elwood for the past 25 years.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that you were the first mayor that's actually went and visited Japan and the company or the people who own Elsa. How was that experience for you?
Yes, Elsa is celebrating their 25th year in Elwood this year. They're having their best year in all of their 25 years. So it was a great time to go to Japan and visit the Sakamoto family that owns Elsa and Sakamoto Industries that's located an hour outside of Tokyo in Ota City, which is where their main plant is located. It was a great honor to be the first mayor of Elwood to visit the Sakamotos and their plant there.
SIA or Subaru and Toyota are a major thing in West Lafayette area.
Yes.
And Elsa is the corporation here in Elwood that provides parts for them.
That's correct. Our Elsa plant supplies gas tanks, fuel tanks, and exhaust systems for SIA or Subaru Indiana. And now, as of last year, they are producing parts for the Toyota Camry that is being built in the Subaru plant as well. So a major occurrence happened a year ago. For the very first time, there was a partnership between Toyota and Subaru to build cars together. And that opened a major door for Elsa Corp and other vendors to work with not only Subaru, but also Toyota. And that has led to increased employment in the Elsa plant and increased production, which is leading one of the reasons why they're having their best year ever in all of their 25 years. And so I was able to go to the Subaru plant this last February and tour the Subaru plant in West Lafayette and watch how they are making Subarus and Toyotas all together now. They have two lines, they all come together, and they're making those cars together for the first time. It would be sort of on the scale in America of Chrysler and Ford making cars together. That would be kind of, it's not common. It wouldn't be a common thing. And so not unlike what's happening with Toyota and Subaru, they're now actually coming together and using capacity that the Subaru plant had and forming a partnership. So Elwood and Elsa are one of the beneficiaries of this new partnership.
Your trip to Japan, how is that trip basically going to benefit Elwood, or what is the importance of going to Japan as the mayor of Elwood to benefit the community here?
That's a great question. We believe it is very important to build strong relationships with the businesses that we have already in our community. When you talk about growing anything, if you're going to build onto your home, you're going to build a room extension onto your home, you want to first make sure that the foundation, all the structure that you currently have is as solid as possible. It's not going to do you any good to build an extension on your home if there's a foundation problem, a roof issue, some structural issue. And so we want to solidify what we already have. And in Elsa, what we have, Elsa is our second largest employer, second to Red Gold. And so we want to make sure that our relationship with the Sakamoto family is as solid as it can be, so that we can ask them to expand and that we can also grow and promote this community to other Japanese companies. And a 25-year track record that we have with a Japanese company, that is pretty uncommon in Indiana or anywhere in the country for that matter, to have a 25-year history with a Japanese company. That has been very successful. So we wanted to do first things first. We wanted to go over and say thank you. Thank you for doing business in our community, for employing people. Elsa has had a 25-year history through some very tumultuous economic times and not ever had a layoff. They're very conservative when they hire someone. They make an investment in someone, and they take that very, very seriously. And so people that work at ELSA have a sense of security or a history that they know that their job is about as secure as any job can be. If they have a permanent job at ELSA, it's pretty secure. And so they have a great reputation for making sure that their employees have a job and have steady work. So we wanted to first say thank you. We know that the Japanese, by their culture, are very relational. Relationships are a priority to them. They want to know who they're doing business with. They want to know you. They want to have a relationship with you. And so we wanted to make sure that first we said thank you, and you need to go where they are. In 25 years, if you haven't went and visited your family at their home, and they always come to your home, relationship probably isn't as strong as it should be. So occasionally we have to go to where they are and say, it's important enough to travel halfway around the world to come and say, thank you, Pam. We value you. We appreciate you. We're glad you're in our community.
I was going to ask you, why was it so important that you physically went to Japan instead of just a conference call or just a phone call? And who actually paid for that trip? How did you end up going over there?
That's a good question. First, understand how important that relationships are to Japanese. The Sakamoto family has come to Indiana and lived in Elwood. There are two brothers that run the company, Matt and Keo. They both have spent multiple years living in and around Elwood, raising their children in Indiana, working in the ELSA plant here, and being a part of the community. They value being a part of this community. We need to reciprocate that. We need to go to their community and say, it's important to us as well. We're going to come to where you are. We want to know where you live, where you do business, how you do business. We want to understand you. And it was very well received. The exciting thing as a conservative mayor who wants to make sure that we invest every dollar wisely is that the money that we spent to go to Japan is money that we are now creating through our newly formed redevelopment commission. So we did not take money out of our general fund that is funded by property taxes in our city by our city residents. We took money that we have garnered out of the existing Plastech plant, and we've used some of those dollars that are not tax dollars to help us invest in further economic development. And so we believed that a very good use of some of those first dollars was to invest in our relationship with the Sakamotos and the potential of other Japanese companies that may want to invest in Indiana and in Elwood. And so it was exciting to be able to take our newly formed redevelopment commission, new dollars that we're realizing out of there. We've done some scrapping out of that plant, and we've realized some gains. We had an auction just recently on materials that were left in the plant that are of no value to the plant in future uses. And so we've, to this point, we have banked in excess of $30,000 out of the things that were in the plant that are not important to the future of the plant. And so we took a small part of that and invested it in this trip to Japan.
ELSA is a major automotive manufacturing company.
Yes.
Here in Elwood. Are there any other industries that can come to Elwood benefit from you going to ELSA? I mean, the feeling that you got when you were in Japan, was it a strong feeling of them wanting to expand here in our community, or?
Yes. Japan is in a recession, much like our country. Only the difference now is when I took my American dollars and had to turn them into yen, I got much less yen for my American dollar than we used to get. The yen is very strong, the dollar is weak. So what that means is they can bring their yen to the United States and get a much higher return on their yen investing in our dollar and our economy. And so it makes sense for them from an investment standpoint to come invest in the United States. On top of that condition, we all know that Japan was struck over a year ago with the tsunami, the earthquake, and then the tsunami that followed. And it totally short-circuited the way the Japanese do business. The Japanese are an on-time manufacturer. And what I mean by that is, if you go to the Subaru plant and you tour the cars that they're making now, every car that's coming off the production line is sold. Unlike American car manufacturers who, when they're making cars, it's inventory and they're hoping on marketing and good markets and things to sell those. The Japanese have already sold theirs. And so every car has to be manufactured. It has to be put together. It has to be delivered because there's a buyer for it. And what happened, their production is done in what they call real time. Within 2 weeks from you buying a Subaru or a Toyota or a Honda, that vehicle's made and delivered. And so they have a system set to where their suppliers are all real-time suppliers. Their manufacturing site is producing that car or that vehicle in real time or within that 2-week window of time. Unlike how American car companies are making. So the tsunami hit, the suppliers for Subaru, Toyota, Honda are not able to get the parts from Japan to the United States. And so they're not able to deliver those vehicles in that 2-week window. It went even a month, 2 months. And so they had orders they could not fill. And so for the first time they realized we have a real initiative to locate our vendors, our suppliers in the United States, and that all the parts can't be in Japan for cars that are being made in North America, for North America, Europe, South America, all this area. A lot of the cars made in North America are exported to Europe, Russia, and so it disrupted all of that area. And so you have a strong yen, you have a tsunami that disrupts the whole way that they produce and manufacture vehicles. And then on top of that, you have an issue now that because of the tsunami, they had a nuclear facility with a real issue. Japan now has an initiative to be nuclear free by the year 2030. Now it's nearly 2013, Pam. So that's a short 17 years away. It sounds like forever when you think in 2030, but it's only 17 years away. And so if you reacquaint yourself to the geography and you look at Japan, it's a sliver of land in the middle of the ocean. Mm-hmm. And so there's not a lot of opportunity like we have in the United States to excavate coal and natural materials and energy. And so they're very dependent on nuclear energy. So now they are in a mad dash to how do they replace nuclear energy. Solar, like we have the wind farm now and north of our community. There's solar, there's wind, there's all these renewable. In the meantime, they have a lot of industry that needs a lot of energy. And so the United States, especially the Midwest, especially Indiana, we have strong coal reserves, we have natural gas, we now have renewables with the wind. We have a solid supply of energy that they can count on, that a business can invest in and know they're not going to have a disruption in service, they're not going to have a problem, in the foreseeable future, getting the energy that they need. So you have all these, you have a perfect storm really for the Midwest to reap the benefit of increased Japanese investment in our area.
When you were over there, I know you offered different places or facilities, or gave information on different facilities that they could possibly use. What facilities did you showcase as far as locations for them to expand in our community?
we put together a packet that showcased 4 opportunities in Elwood, and there are more than that, but we wanted to pick 4 and sort of show we had it was 4 showed a varying degree of from total new construction to existing structure. So we showcased the 53 acres at State Road 37 and 28 that originally was set up as by the city as an industrial site. We showcased Plastac as an existing structure. We also showcased the former Varchem building that the Elwood Community Development Corporation owns and has available. And then we also showcased the former WIC site on State Road 37 that is a multi-use facility, and then also acreage available if you want to build. So we took a cross-section of opportunities and laid a map out and said, here are the things we have immediately. If you're looking to move equipment in and you need a structure that's ready to go, our redevelopment commission owns the Plastac site, complete with rail spur, docks, building, ready to go. You want to build something new, here's acreage, perfect location, on state highways. And we literally took a state map, Pam, laid it out, showed the perfect location that Elwood is in the state of Indiana, and our location to not only Subaru, but to Honda in Greensburg, to Toyota in Princeton, to Fort Wayne, to Chicago, to, we really have the ideal location in the Midwest. So we showcased that. We showcased that, but we sort of, our closing statement about our location being perfect was we gave the folks we met with, we gave them each a piece of glass that was handmade by Prestige Glass here in Elwood, by the Balls. And it was a glass piece that was an outline of the state of Indiana. So it looked like the state of Indiana. And in the location where Elwood is, it had a red heart. And so I explained not only are we sincere about saying thank you to Japan and their investment in our community, but the heart also indicates our location, and that we call ourselves the heart of Hoosierland. And so here's this piece of glass to remind them. And so our idea, Pam, is that becomes a paperweight on their desk, and they remember Elwood and our location, and that somehow, some way, someone will go, maybe a second look at Elwood there. That's kind of cool. We'll go back to that. You mentioned earlier in your question, I didn't answer, about other industry. We're very blessed in Elwood, coming through this transition of our past, of being, sort of all our eggs in one basket with General Motors, that we're now pretty diversified. And we're blessed to have Red Gold, their corporate headquarters now in our community. They are the major, they're an international food processing plant. And so what we learned was that in Indiana, there's a Japanese company that wholly owns a major hog production facility in Indiana. 40% of that pork is exported to Japan. Soybeans, very important to the Japanese and to Japan. And nearly 30% of our soybeans grown in Indiana are exported to Japan. And so they understand agriculture and Indiana in that role in agriculture. And so not only is manufacturing big, most people wouldn't realize that we're one of the smallest states in land, but Indiana produces 22% of everything made in America. 22% is made in Indiana. So it's not just auto. We make a lot of other things, and we're blessed to have a history of food processing and agriculture as well as auto manufacturing. And so we touted that. We talked about Red Gold. We talked about the history of Red Gold in the canning factory and the tomatoes and the soybeans and the corn. And we explained why we were a small community, because we're surrounded by soybean, corn fields, and tomato fields. And so we believe that we presented a nice picture that we're diversified. It's not just about making cars, although we'll take every manufacturer that wants to come to help make cars. But we also want to try to diversify that. So if you have a downturn in the auto industry for whatever reason, food's a pretty steady industry. That we're diversified, we keep people working, and we have opportunities to grow. So that message was well received. So it's more than just building Toyotas and Hondas and Subarus. There again, I was in Tokyo for most of my time. The city of Tokyo, Pam, has 128 million people in it.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people in a very small piece of land. And so the Japanese have made the most out of every square inch that they have. And so they're not able to have big soybean fields and corn fields and tomato fields and hog production and farms, and we're blessed with that. And so they have to feed a lot of people in a very small area. They're very dependent on our agricultural exports. And so they're very interested in the Midwest and Indiana and our area for that.
So are you feeling optimistic about them possibly choosing Elwood to do their expansions?
Very optimistic. I went very excited and feeling like our timing was right. As I mentioned, that perfect storm of conditions. But I came away even more excited after having a full week of meetings with various industry and investment and construction, and we did a real full plate of folks that we met with. I came away much more optimistic about our future because they are moving these plants out of Japan. They're moving them out of China. There's a conflict with China. The economy in China is unstable. Being able to get the product in and out of China is not stable. And so there's a lot of world conditions right now that is making the U.S. ideal to do business in. It's steady. It's about as sure as you can get in investment and production futures. And so I came home from Japan even more excited about our future.
Is there anything else that I haven't hit on or asked of you that you'd like to let us know? Any more information or anything that was important, or there's just something that you want, something else that you'd like to let us know that happened? Or
I think the thing we need to understand, the thing I was really taken by being over there for 10 days, is the Japanese people as a whole love America. And they love Americans, and they love our culture, and in many ways they emulate and imitate us and how we do business and our pop culture and just every bit of our lives and how we conduct our lives. And so it was a wonderful first overseas visit for me to go to Japan first, to go to a country where people speak our language, and they love Americans, and they embrace our culture and our business culture, and they want to be good partners. They want to have solid relations. And so that was encouraging in and of itself. It is nice to do business with people who like you and want to do business with you and are not just forced to do that because maybe at that particular time it's the wisest investment. So we're going to continue this initiative, Pam. I think that's, this was a great first step. But, as in any relationship, you have to continue. There's no healthy relationship that's one way. It has to be a two-way relationship. We're going to continue that. We're going to invest in it. We're going to go back. We're going to keep telling our story. We cannot count on the state of Indiana. We can't count on anyone else to do this for us. We have to market our community, and we have to go show them it's important to us. We want it. We're ready to do business. The other thing I look forward to is embracing more of their history and their culture. It's very, very, very rich. And I'm a history buff. I love world history. And it's just, I saw a pine tree, Pam, at a Buddhist temple that was over 700 years old. I've never seen a tree 700 years old. So you just kind of stand in awe and go, my goodness, this one tree has stood for, we know, 700 years. And so, our history, we go back 200 and we're, it's pretty cool. But, these folks are going back hundreds or even thousands of years. And so if you enjoy history, in the very least, it's a great place in the world to go. But I want to see us embrace their history, their culture in our community, and do a little bit more than we've done. Elsa has sort of operated in our community sort of as the invisible man, if you will. They're here, we know they're here. We don't mind that they're here, there's no animosity, but we just kind of do our thing and they kind of do their. They are a festive people. They love festivals, they love parades, they love putting on their ceremonial gear. While I was there, it was a ceremony of 3, 5, and 7-year-old boys and girls that on the 15th of November, their parents take them to the temple and they're presented to the temple, and they wear their ceremonial kimonos and the ceremonial gear that when we think of Japanese and in the history of Japan, how we would think of them being dressed. And so I got to see these 3, 5, and 7-year-olds. One of the pictures that I sent back was me with a 5-year-old little boy who didn't quite understand what this American was doing, getting his picture taken with him, but his parents invited me to. And they loved the idea that, I was there watching that and appreciating their history and their culture. We're a festive people. We have our glass festival, and we have parades, and we have our chili cook-off, and we celebrate who we are as a people. I want to see us do that and incorporate the Japanese culture into that and become more connected to who they are and who we are. Bring that together in our community. Gardens are very big to the Japanese. The hotel that I stayed in had a garden, Pam, and we're talking a pretty large area that you walk through. 400 years old. Absolutely beautiful. And one of the comments made to me by one of the wives of the Sakamoto brothers was, when they come to Indiana, they go to Carmel because there's a small Japanese garden in Carmel. And they are so taken that a community would create a small garden, a Japanese garden, that whenever they come to Indiana, they go there. We should have a Japanese garden in Elwood.
We have Elsa.
We have Elsa. We have a reason to have a Japanese garden. We're just not creating it to try to have, to get people to stop by. We have a reason to celebrate that culture and to have a garden. We have a beautiful park system. We have the ability to do it. And what a great way of saying, we care about you, we embrace your culture, here's something we're going to do for you. And the small things become the big things. And so I want to see us as a community begin to better understand their culture and let them know, indeed, I said it in word during this trip, but now I want to show them indeed that we're going to have a festival, we're going to have a Japanese garden, whatever it is the community embraces. I don't want to dictate that, but whatever our community embraces, that we make a statement to them, your culture is important, we want you here, we want a partnership with you. And I think if we begin to do those things, that this small community will become the poster child for all the things that you do to build healthy relationships. And so I'm very excited about the future.
Well, I really want to appreciate you for talking with me today. And
thank you.
On behalf of someone in the community, I really appreciate you going and taking that extra step to try to pull more business in here and make us grow a little bit more.
Well, thank you. We worked very hard. We had a very busy schedule that I tried to share in a daily journal, if you will, that you all were very kind to post. Thank you for doing that. The reason I wanted people to understand what I was doing day to day, and maybe some people looked and said, well, gosh, we don't need to know everything he's doing, but I wanted you to understand I took this very seriously. This wasn't a vacation. This is important to our community. I said from the very beginning, we have to grow our way out of the economic condition and crisis that we're in. And this is a great opportunity to do that. So I took that very seriously. We worked very hard. I did some sightseeing, but I worked very hard, and we had lots of meetings, and we met lots of great people. And we're going to continue to follow up with those folks, build the relationships, do the work that I know will produce fruit. So I appreciate the confidence the community's put in me to go do that, to be the spokesperson. I think we were effective. I know we were effective. I know we were well received. We must continue. Others must go with me, with or without me. We must continue to go, build those relationships. It will produce dividends here.
I thank you very much.
Thank you, Pam. Thanks for all that you do.
Thank you.